to see billions of dollars of Bitcoin dump on the market? Well, in just a moment, I'll be talking about that in more detail, alongside the price now bouncing from critical short-term support and also flashing this same signal in the short term again, while Ethereum is now retesting a critical level on the chart and also still flashing this warning signal in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before getting into the Bitcoin charts today, we need to take a look at the Bitcoin news today, because over the last one day, we saw billions upon billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin move all at once on the Bitcoin blockchain. And we can see that all of this Bitcoin was being moved out of the Mt. Gox wallet, the Mt. Gox Bitcoin Trust. And in case you're new to all of this and you have no idea about Mt. Gox, basically Mt. Gox used to be a Bitcoin exchange, and it was previously a massive exchange at the time, and basically the exchange collapsed, and so for years and years now, creditors of the exchange wanting to get their Bitcoin back have been waiting for the exchange to eventually pay that Bitcoin back. And the Mt. Gox Bitcoin Trust holds over 100,000 Bitcoin, so we're talking about a massive amount of Bitcoin worth billions of dollars. And ultimately, this Bitcoin will be returned to creditors, basically paid out, and potentially a lot of that Bitcoin could be dumped. So that was part of the FUD that we saw over the last one day, which caused a bit of a drop in the price of Bitcoin. But if we're taking a look at what Mark Capelli said, which by the way, Mark Capelli is the former CEO of Mt. Gox, and basically he just said that the trustee is moving the coins to a different wallet in preparation of the distribution that will likely happen later this year. And he also said that there's no imminent sale of Bitcoins happening. And so even though we saw billions upon billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin suddenly move on chain out of the Mt. Gox Bitcoin addresses, the Mt. Gox Bitcoin wallets, once again, that is just the trustee moving the Bitcoin from one wallet to another wallet, getting ready for those distributions happening later this year. And in case you're wondering when those distributions, when those payouts are meant to happen, basically as of right now, the deadline is October this year, which basically means sometime close to October, a bit before October possibly, we could end up seeing a lot of that Bitcoin payout to creditors. But it's also worth keeping in mind that this repayment deadline has been changed multiple times over the years, because this has been going on for over a decade. And so basically that repayment deadline in October later this year is not actually set in stone. For all we know, it could be changed again, it could be delayed. But at least for now, that is the current repayment deadline, which means potentially somewhere closer towards October, we could end up seeing a lot of this Bitcoin actually distributed to creditors, which means some of it potentially could be dumped on the market when that gets repaid. And so due to all of that news over the last 24 hours, once again, that caused a bit of a short-term drop in the price of Bitcoin, with some people getting scared with all of this Bitcoin moving all at once. But once again, at least as of right now, this is not currently getting distributed. This is just moving from one wallet to another wallet, preparing for distributions. And even when distributions eventually happen out of the Mt. Gox wallets, we don't actually know how much of that Bitcoin is actually going to be sold. Of course, some of it is likely going to be sold when it eventually gets paid out. But for all we know, a lot of the holders of that Bitcoin, when they receive that Bitcoin, may just end up continue holding that Bitcoin. And so ultimately, when we're zooming out, looking at Bitcoin's long-term future is in 5-10 years from now, or even longer than that, this is just a blip on the radar. This is only short-term news. And with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, taking a look at the 3-day time frame first of all, and as of right now, the price of Bitcoin is technically still in a larger bullish trend, forming higher lows and higher highs on the larger time frames, also known as a bull market. And technically speaking, we still have a hidden bullish divergence active on the 3-day time frame, with higher lows in the price and lower lows in the RSI, which is a bullish trend continuation pattern here for the larger time frames. But in case you're new to this channel, it's important to understand the difference between the different time frames. So when we're zooming out on the larger time frames, we're still looking bullish in terms of the larger trend. But on smaller time frames, that larger trend can contain short-term bearish and bullish moves every now and again. And so just keep that in mind. On small time frames, that can flip between bullish and bearish basically every day. But when we're zooming out, we're still in a larger bullish trend on the larger time frames. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, as of right now, this is still trending more bearish rather than bullish, which is technically a bullish signal for Bitcoin when we're talking about the trend on the daily time frame. But once again, during these bullish trends in the price of Bitcoin, we can see short-term pullbacks, just like how during this bearish trend in the DXY, we can see some short-term bounces back to the upside during a bearish trend. But ultimately, at least for now, things are still looking more bullish than bearish for Bitcoin in terms of the trend, especially on the larger timeframes here. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin RSI, obviously just recently we have seen a little bit of a pullback, but we're still currently looking more bullish than bearish if we're looking at the daily Bitcoin RSI, similar to what we saw back here or back here, for example. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, we can see over the last one day, once again, due to a lot of that news, we saw a little bit of a short-term pullback, but ultimately we're running into this critical area of support, which we are still finding support in. And so once again, that area of support is sitting in between 67,000 to 68,000. And that's basically where there's a lot of people interested in buying Bitcoin, at least for now. But if we end up seeing a further pullback below 67,000 with candle closes below that level, in that case, we could likely retrace all the way back down towards these areas on the chart, as in back down towards around 63 to 64,000 as a likely scenario if we confirm a break below 67,000, which as of right now has not happened. And so like I've already been saying over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now, ultimately in the shorter term, the price of Bitcoin is actually looking relatively neutral, which so far has been playing out exactly as expected. We've just been chopping around sideways over the last half a week to nearly 1 week, which is what I've been talking about. Because as of right now, at least in the somewhat shorter term here on the daily time frame, the price is in this sideways price range in between this area of support and this area of resistance, which is still sitting in between 72,000 to 74,000. And so nothing much has changed here in the shorter term on the daily time frame, but if we're zooming into the 1 hour Bitcoin chart, looking at the much shorter term, once again, we can see that pullback over the last 1 day caused by a lot of that Bitcoin news that I just talked about earlier. And so ultimately that meant that this previous short-term bullish divergence was very short-lived. It only played out over around half a day before we saw that next short-term pullback. But what we are now seeing on the 1 hour Bitcoin chart is relatively horizontal lows in the price of Bitcoin in the candle closes on the 1 hour time frame, while still seeing higher lows in the 1 hour Bitcoin RSI, which is still technically a bullish divergence. And so simply based on this bullish divergence now playing out on the 1 hour time frame, at least just in the short term, as in potentially over the next 1 day or so, we're most likely going to see either a bit of a bullish relief or some more choppy sideways price action as the most likely outcomes just over the next 1 day or so. But keep in mind, this is only on the 1 hour time frame, so these very small short-term patterns are not as significant as to what we're seeing on the larger time frames. And also keep in mind, the smaller the time frame, the quicker the moves actually play out. So usually these small bullish divergences on the 1 hour chart only last for around 1 to 2 days max, or sometimes even quicker. And so that's the situation right now in the short term. We're running into this area of support and forming a new bullish divergence, which means we could see a slight bounce or some more choppy sideways price action in this sideways price range, which is basically what I've been saying anyway over the last half a week. But when we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, this is still occurring within a much larger bullish trend. And so as of right now, when it comes to my Bitcoin trading strategy, over the last 1 day, this has not changed. So as of right now, I'm still currently in this $200,000 Bitcoin long position. And I entered this position at much lower prices, which I shared here on the channel when I was doing that. And I've been sharing this position and this trading strategy basically every single day since then, around 3 weeks ago. And so once again, I've already taken a little bit of profits off the table from this trade previously, and my stop loss is already above my entry in profits, which means in the worst case scenario, if the price just crashes right now, I still come away with profits. And if you also want to take trades just like this for yourself to make a lot of easy profits in crypto, then make sure to check out this exchange which I'm trading on right now, which is Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right right here where you can claim a 200 USDT airdrop position just by making a Bybit account, using that link, making a deposit and claiming the airdrop. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I will also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see over the last one day, we took out a little bit of downside liquidity with that short-term pullback caused by that news once again. But if we're zooming out to a slightly larger time frame in the liquidation heat map, we can still see a lot of liquidity to the upside, mainly sitting at around 70.7k approximately, and going up towards around 71,000. And so basically, ever since that short-term pullback over the last one day, a lot of new short positions have opened up and to have their liquidation price right around 71,000, give or take. And so that basically means it is quite likely that the price could return up towards those levels sometime soon. And once the price eventually crosses above 71,000 again, that will liquidate hundreds of millions of dollars of short positions, potentially causing a little bit more of a short squeeze to the upside just in the short term. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and right now this bullish breakout for the price of ETH out of this bullish falling wedge is technically still active, with the price target sitting at around 40.70, so just below 4.1k. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour time frame, right now the price is actually retesting this critical Fibonacci level on the chart, which was previous resistance and is now potentially acting as new support, sitting at around 38.20. And so it's quite important, at least in the short term, that the price holds above that level, or at least holds the candle closes above that level. It doesn't matter so much if we see candle wicks to the downside, because basically if the price holds above that level, holds above 38.20, and ideally bounces from that level, confirming it as new support, then in that case, that would be bullish price structure. Anytime where we flip previous resistance and breakout and flip it into new support, that is bullish price structure. And in that case, we'll likely head up towards this local high just underneath 4.1k. But if we fail this retest, if we fail to find support here and we start actually breaking below 38.20 with candle closes below that level here on the 8-hour time frame, then in that case, we could likely return back down towards this area of support in between around 3.6k to 36.50. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we can still see this new bearish divergence, which has now confirmed since my last video. Because like I said yesterday, we had already confirmed higher highs in the price in the candle closes, while also forming lower highs in the RSI. But since my last video, we've now actually confirmed the lower high in place in the 4-hour Ethereum RSI. And so once again, this means the bearish divergence is technically active right now on the 4-hour time frame, which means potentially over the next 1 to 2 days or so, we're most likely going to play out either a short-term pullback or a sideways consolidation as the most likely outcomes just in the shorter term here. And if we're taking a quick look at the price of Solana on the 8-hour time frame, right now we are continuing that bounce from exactly $160, which is acting as new support and was previous resistance. And right now we're still finding resistance in this area, which was previous support, and that area is sitting in between 167 to 172, once again acting as resistance. But if we see a confirmed breakout above 172 again, then in that case, we'd likely see a move like this back up towards this area, sitting in between around 182 to 186, acting as resistance. And above that, we have more resistance in between $200 to $210. And $160 is a critical level on the chart, not only because that's important support, but also that is the neckline for this previous inverse head and shoulders pattern, which means if we break below 160 with confirmation, so candle closes below that level, then in that case, that would invalidate this breakout and this bullish price target altogether. And in that case, if we see a confirmed break below 160, we could likely return towards this area of support, sitting in between 140 to 144. But at least as of right now, that has not happened. So 160 is still the support level to pay attention to in the short term. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.